It's another clean sheet as well.
Yeah.
I think that's now 5 clean sheets in a row. And we haven't lost. Graham Potter's start to Chelsea as the head coach is still unbeaten. So there is a few positives to take from the way we ended the game as well.
Yeah, I felt like we were pushing and pushing and pushing, and probably both halves could have done with an extra 10 minutes. We almost did it, but at least we didn't lose. It is the type of game where perhaps last season we would have got sucker punched, chasing the game, and then before you know it, you've lost a goal on the counter. It was frustrating, but if you can't win it, don't lose it.
Yeah. So Graham Potter did make some subs around the 60th minute mark. On came Carney Chukwuemeka and Christian Pulisic, and both of them had real positive impacts in the game. We'll start with Christian Pulisic because we were talking at half-time and saying he's on the bench, but he hasn't necessarily had any minutes since he was good against Wolves. But he came on and he made a real impact. And if Chelsea were going to get anything, it looked like it was going to come through him.
Yeah, we needed pace, we needed energy, and he came on with a real drive and purpose, I thought. Straight away, he hit the ground running, and like you say, any kind of creative chances were coming through him. Didn't quite happen, but, you know, amazing to see him looking so bright.
Has he made a case then to start against Man United? Because you could argue that the players that did start didn't make a good enough case themselves. Yeah,
I would totally agree with that. I feel like, actually, he really came on and made his mark on this side, as did Carney, actually, so.
Talking of Carney Chukwuemeka, because came on in midfield, and it is one thing bringing him on against Wolves when you're 3-0 up in a game, but there's another thing bringing him on at a really tough away ground when the game is still very much open, it's 0-0, everything's to play for. Yeah. So Graham Potter's put his trust in him, and he's repaid him because he came on and he looked good, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was quite energetic. He was willing to drive with the ball and really hit those spaces. Almost nicked it for us at the end there as well.
So
but I was impressed with his running and his ability to carry the ball. We got better as the half went on. I think we were probably at our most dangerous for the final 15 minutes of the game. Yeah. It's just when you've got such a deep block, and they had, you know, eight players on the edge of their own box just defending for their lives, doing scorpion kicks to get the ball out of the way. And it's the type of fixture where you end up frustrated, but ultimately Brentford just defended really well.
And he found himself in position slightly further forward. I know when he came on against Wolves, it was more of a centre mid, but actually he was playing in one of those number 10 roles, Abby, and we saw him getting further up pitch and, like Dan saying, have a few chances as well.
Yeah, that one at the end is so close. Oh my God, I feel like my ears are still ringing for all of us screaming in the studio in reaction to that. So close, but so promising from him. And like you say, the fact that the manager trusts him to come on, a game that we really thought we were going to win and should win. So, yeah, there's lots of positives to take away, although we maybe don't feel so positive right now.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's probably no surprise that we didn't lose this game because Trevor Chalobah started, and he's kept up his record of having never lost a game in which he has started. And, Dan, it was another convincing performance from him. I don't think he really put a foot wrong, and he actually dealt with Ivan Toney, who a lot of defenders really struggle to deal with very, very well.
I think he got his starting position well. He got his starting position right, throughout the whole game. There was one time in the second half where he maybe got caught underneath the ball and it almost created a situation. But every other time, he was in the perfect place to cover. If someone else went out to the ball and maybe didn't get hold of it, he was able to sweep. He played that very, very well. I feel like he is maturing, growing as a centre-back. He's obviously learning from the best there is in Thiago Silva. But I was impressed with him, you know. I didn't even know that stat was a stat. We've never
lost a game in which he started.
Yeah.
So starting more.
I think well, I mean, to be honest, he's the sort of player that maybe not as benefited from Fofana being injured, but he came in at a time where we had a few injuries, and he's got back to the Trevor Chalobah that we saw at the start of last season when he was just absolutely brilliant, solid, and I think that must do so much for a player's confidence, a young centre-back that hasn't got much experience in the Premier League, Abby, but now looks right at home in a back three or a back four.
Yeah, he's cemented his place, like, so well. And, like you say, he's still very young, but he reads the game so well. And I do think it must be, like, training with Thiago Silva. I mean, you're just going to pick up so many little gems, aren't you?
And I mean, maybe we're going to maybe whisper it quietly again, but England struggle for centre-backs, don't they? You know, with Harry Maguire out of form, there's a couple of injuries in there at the moment. If he carries on his form, could he have an outside chance of going to the World Cup?
There's an outside chance. Look, there's still 3 weeks or so to play before everyone jets off for the World Cup.
3 weeks and 2 games a week.
2 games a week. Anything can happen in terms of injuries, you know, and before you know it, you weren't in the squad a few weeks ago and all of a sudden you are. If he keeps playing like this, there's certainly he merits the opportunity. It's just whether he has the credentials to almost be in that World Cup squad right now, because he's got the talent for it and he's learning every game. I think he's also beginning to learn when to not go and win that ball. I think that's quite an important part of defending, especially in a free, knowing when not to go. But he's been excellent.
Yeah, and we've got a big week coming up. We've, of course, got Man United, Salzburg, Brighton, Zagreb. So a big couple of weeks. But that Manchester United game, I think they're now, if it stays the way it is between them and Spurs, they're currently 1-0 up. They'll be just 1 point behind us, 4th versus 5th. That's a huge game. Do you expect, we've seen Graham Potter make so many changes already. Do you think he's going to make even more changes to his starting 11? Because I'm looking at the starting 11 thinking we could see those players that are on the bench perhaps come in for that United game.
I expect the unexpected. Honestly, I don't know.
I suppose that's a good thing in a way,
I don't
isn't
know
it?
what to make of it. I would like to think that Pulisic may have done enough today to merit starting. I thought he was impressive against Wolves as well. I'm not sure what to expect. And I'm not even sure what team I would pick myself right now. But it's a bit of a 6-pointer. It's an important game. I prefer to look up the table at Man City and chase them rather than look behind me and worry about Man United. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what he has in store.
Well, I mean, the last 4 games between us and Man United have been draws, so I think it's probably safe to say it might be a draw at Stamford Bridge on Saturday, although we're hoping for a big 3 points, of course. Yes, some goals would be lovely. Abby, Mason Mount came off with about around the 60-minute mark. Do you think that's because he's started every game under Graham Potter, just to give him a little bit of a rest? He did look a little bit tired, maybe, and he's obviously so important, and you want to see him starting and being his best, Mason Mount, against Man United.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of game management, looking after Mason Mount, making sure he's rested for. Well, I mean, there's games every few days. You know, we need Mason Mount right at the heart of this squad. So hopefully, he'll be back in the starting lineup soon enough.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, we've got a big game at Stamford Bridge on Saturday, and this is what is coming up on the 5th stand this week. Of course, you've got Graham Potter's press conference ahead of that United game. That is coming on Friday afternoon. On Saturday, of course, as I just mentioned, it's Matchday Live. We'll be live from 4:45 on the 5th stand. And on Sunday as well, there'll be WSL highlights for you to watch as well. Guys, is it a disappointing night? How are you feeling after that draw?
I'm okay. I'm frustrated. I would have loved the 3 points. I feel like you expect the 3 points when you're a Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
But it's not the worst point in the world. I think they dug deep, Brentford. I feel like they probably deserve the point.
Yeah. And what about you, Abby?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a snap back to reality, I think. I was like,
we're
going to win.
The title,
we're on a trajectory. No, what were we thinking, Olivia?
Right, no title race chat.
Yeah,
no title race chat until at least next year.
Pretend that didn't happen. Cut it out in the edit.
Yeah, right. One word before we leave you. One word sum up. Dan?
Okay.
Abby?
Frustrated.
Okay, we got okay and frustrated. Abby, Dan, thank you so much. It wasn't to be at the Brentford Community Stadium, a 0-0 draw, but we'll take a point and we'll go again against Manchester United, hoping to turn that one into 3. We'll see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.